Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unwanted Opinions podcast. Jay and I are back here on a Thursday, going to break down, give our thoughts on this NBA coming back. I mean, I think a lot of people know Woj has been out there dropping bombs. Sham's been dropping bombs. The 22-team proposal, it was voted on today at 12:30 Eastern Time. 29 of the 30 owners voted yes. The lone no was Portland, which I thought was kind of odd, but I saw some details to why. So we're just going to talk about all that, kind of what we think, how exciting it is that we've got some good news in sports, finally, for the first time in a really long time, it seems. I know the NBA is not coming back until July 31st, but now we've got a plan, and it's set in stone that it's happening. So I'm pumped.
Just a first glimmer of actual hope.
Yes, because we saw all these proposals, we saw all these plans, or what they were trying to do. It was just they hadn't officially decided on something, and I actually really like what they're doing. I think they probably didn't need to bring the Suns and the Wizards into this, but
yeah, I don't think anybody expects them to do anything.
I don't either, but I mean, who knows? I mean, I actually saw today or yesterday, I believe it was, that they're saying that John Wall may play for the Wizards because I think he's like 16 months off of Achilles surgery. I don't think that they will, but I guess if you just plant that seed out there, maybe somebody becomes a little more weary of the Wizards, but who knows?
I heard the same thing actually about Kevin Durant, but it's pretty much been shut down, that idea
Woj
that he's
said
not
yesterday
playing.
that KD's not playing.
Yeah, but I think it was just fun for people to talk about because I think he's coming on day 400 and something.
I think it's month 13 from surgery.
Yeah.
I believe it was because it was sometime like mid-May when he got that Achilles surgery in the finals. So yeah, I think now it's at a year, but come the end of the start of the new season, or I guess the return of the season, it would be at like 13 months. But Woj said the other day on his podcast, and he's pretty plugged into the Nets and Kevin Durant. I mean, he was the one that broke the story. You see that Shams is connected more to LeBron's circle, and a few guys, and Chris Haynes from Yahoo is more connected to like Dame Lillard and Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Woj has got like KD and Kyrie and a few of those other guys. So
look at you with your knowledge of who's better with who.
You could just tell when those guys, when they tweet things. You see Shams, he's tweeting about the Lakers, he's tweeting about some other teams. Woj tweets about like Boston and Brooklyn, and it's almost like it's divided,
territorial,
like East Coast and West Coast type thing.
Yep.
And this is just a little backstory. I don't know if you know this about Woj. He was a writer at Yahoo before he went to ESPN. And, I mean, he's a pretty known LeBron hater. So I don't think LeBron would ever I don't think LeBron or his agents or representatives would ever tell Woj anything first. That's why they have Shams.
Yep.
Yeah, because he wrote a few pieces on LeBron about how he had a bad, I think it was after the 2011 finals, really, really bashed LeBron, and a few other times he did too. So that's just a little backstory on that. A lot of people knew about it.
Look at the fun fact.
It is a fun fact, yeah.
Crowd.
So there you go. So you get everybody dropping shit.
I just want people to know we did attempt to get on here yesterday.
Yes, we
and
did.
A free plug, Xfinity fucking blows. And
but I guess it's sort of a bad plug.
I said free. I didn't say good. They screwed our internet, Nick's internet, all up. And every time we tried to record, it would freeze and cut out, and we'd lose everything. So shout out Metronet, even though you guys kind of blow too. You're really our only two options, but you were working for me yesterday.
Pretty much. Well, and it was like a countrywide thing for Comcast. It wasn't just Indiana or Lafayette, but yeah, I know. All right, let's get to this format.
Lay out the details.
So here we go. This is what you got. You got 22 teams. You've got all 16 playoff teams, and then you added in the Pelicans, the Suns, the Blazers, the Kings, the Spurs, and the Wizards. So one other team from the East, and then 5 other teams from the West. Now, a lot of these teams
kind of shows you how lopsided the divisions are.
Yes,
the
conferences,
it does. I'm sorry.
And that there was a lot of argument about that on Twitter about LeBron and Giannis for the MVP race. There was some argument about that, how much deeper the West is after like the 6th seed, because in the East, obviously you got 1 through 6 are pretty good, but 7, 8, 9 are just kind of an average team. But then you see in the West where it's 1 through 13, I would say 1 through 12, because I don't think the Suns are very good, and the Spurs really aren't either. But you get my point. There's obviously way more teams coming from the West than there is the East. And every team is going to play 8 games, or quote-unquote regular season games for seeding purposes, whether they're – because you got the potential play-in tournament for the 8th seed. And this one was just a little different. I just thought this was kind of strange. I think this is just to give these teams that they're bringing back into the bubble a hope, because if you're only 4 games behind the 8 seed as the 9 seed, you get a play-in tournament. You either get to play the 1 or 2 games max. So if the 9 seed beats the 8th seed, then they play again. But if the 8th seed beats that 9th seed, they play. Then the 8th seed just automatically advances into the playoffs, which, I mean, who knows who it's going to be, because what they're going to do for those 8 games is they're going to try as much as possible to play the remaining 8 games that were on your schedule left in the regular season. I think they'll have some confusion of trying to do that, because I'm not sure if they want to have teams playing each other back to back, or if some team has to play somebody 3 straight times. That's just going to cause some havoc with scheduling with what they're going to try and do. So I think they're going to play around with it a lot, but it just gives all those teams coming back hope that they can get in, because Damian Lillard said that he wasn't going to come back if there was nothing to play for.
Yeah, and on top of that, we talked about it yesterday, but it never went through. Very glad that they're playing, whether it be 8 regular season games, even if it was 5 games or 10 games, whatever. I'm glad they're playing games before the playoffs, because I guarantee you the basketball is going to be sloppy when it first comes back. They haven't played 5-on-5 in forever. They're not going to be in basketball shape, postseason shape. It takes a lot of 5-on-5 practice to get used to game time stamina and being able to go the whole time. And I believe it's going to give star players, and really any players, the edge of work themselves back into game shape. You don't have to play 40 minutes game 1. You can get yourself back in. You're not rushing, because then it's going to set you up for a potential injury. Get your sloppy basketball out of the way before the playoffs start. And it just, I think they did take their time on figuring out a solid plan, and I'm pretty okay with everything they've done.
I like it.
And shout out to Florida for letting them come down to there.
Yeah, I like it. And like you were talking about, I think they were never going to jump straight into the playoffs. I think that would have been unfair to every team, honestly every athlete as well, because you just expect them to go in and, like you said, play 40 minutes in a playoff setting where that game absolutely 100% means something. Because this first game back for, say, for example, the Bucks, I think the Bucks have such a huge lead on Toronto that if they lose their first game, it's not going to mean anything for seeding purposes. And obviously there's no home court advantage. So, I mean, do the Bucks just try and ease themselves back in? I mean, I know that they're going to have what it was reported today, that they're going to start what they call training camp July 30th, and then July 7th, all the teams travel to Orlando, where they have practices. They're still considered a training camp type deal there.
Did you mean June 30th?
June 30th,
and then July 7th? Yep.
Yes. Yeah. June 30th, their training camp starts, and then July 7th, everybody travels to Orlando. Yep. And then the season starts the 31st. So that gives everybody a chance to get their legs back under them. Because I think for a majority of the athletes, they've kept in good shape, or at least pretty elite shape compared to like normal people. I mean, a lot of these guys got sent. I heard Alex Caruso, he said he didn't really have any home gym equipment, but the Lakers facility sent him stuff to his house to where he would be able to work out and keep in shape. Jimmy Butler for the Heat sent every one of his teammates a hoop when this whole thing went down. If you didn't have a hoop at your house, he sent you one. So, I mean, everyone's just doing their best to try and stay fit, and it'll just take some time, but I couldn't be more excited.
Same. It's going to be fun to watch. I just can't wait for even the first exhibition game, even though I know I guess I shouldn't call it an exhibition game, the first game back, even though I know it's probably going to be a little sloppy, but just to see something back. I mean, the UFC came back. They were the first sport to come back. Again, they did it in Florida, and it was fun to watch that. And it's just nice, even though they didn't have fans, it's just nice seeing sports back being talked about.
We need it right now.
Yes, we do, and it's just very fun to sit here and think about what's going to happen. My question to you, you kind of sneak dissed the Suns earlier. Do you think if the Suns, that roster, do you think they could make an 8 seed in the East?
They could probably make the 8th seed in the East. Yeah, because I think right now Orlando is 30-35, and let me check Phoenix's record.
They're right around there, I'm pretty sure.
I know they're all. I mean, I think the Suns were only 6 games out of the 8th seed in the West. So let me see what their actual record is.
But that should just tell you the difference in the conferences right there.
I mean, Phoenix is 26-39. And Orlando is 30-35. So what they'd be 4 games back of the Magic. I mean, there's potential that they could catch.
But they would have been playing that Eastern schedule instead of the
That's
West.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, I mean, they're probably better than the Wizards and Orlando, but I mean, I don't know if they brought these 22 teams back because maybe they wanted to get another Eastern Conference team in there to not make it look so lopsided, and maybe it just worked better for what they plan on doing with these 8 games, about how they're shuffling teams, because maybe they needed a few extra pieces in there so that you don't have to play somebody 3 times or have to play somebody 2 nights in a row. Or obviously they wouldn't play 2 nights in a row because I doubt they'll play back-to-backs, but you play them one night, then you can get a rest, and you play that exact same team then. I don't know. That may be why they did it, or they just were like saying, hey, we want to try and get as many teams in here as possible that maybe mathematically have a shot if they win. Because, I mean, teams like Minnesota and Golden State and the Bulls, the Knicks, the Pistons, the Hawks, and the Cavs, and the Hornets, their records are just terrible, man. I mean, honestly, does anybody really want to care about watching them unless you're a diehard fan of that team? Not really. So, I mean,
I think it was very methodical and I'm sure it was intentional. They had a plan set in stone. My next question is, do you think getting Zion in the playoffs is one of their big hopes that comes out of this?
It is. I'm almost pretty sure that it is, because Brian Windhorst came out and said that the NBA was going to try and do anything possible to get Zion Williamson back on TV and try. That was kind of my thought. Playoffs. Because say the Pelicans do get the 8th seed, they're going against the Lakers, because the Lakers are now 5.5 up on the Clippers. So unless the Lakers go 0-8 and the Clippers go 8-0, the Lakers are going to get the 1st seed. Now, I know it's not home court advantage, but they would play the 8th seed. And if the Pelicans get that, you know how many people are going to watch that first-round series with Zion against LeBron?
Zion.
I mean, come on now. That's what the NBA is trying to do. They're trying to get their biggest stars. I would already argue that Zion's one of their biggest stars just based off of his name and the crowd he can bring to the TV. But they want to get him in there because you're not going to have the Warriors with Steph and Clay and Draymond because of their injuries.
I do want to point out the Pelicans were really playing good down the stretch before all this shit happened. When Zion came in and they started moving up in the rankings and playing their best ball at the end of the season. So I would not be upset if they made it, not even because Zion's on the team, but because they started clicking, and maybe their record was a game or 2 behind, but they were at this moment in time better than the AC that was in there right then.
Absolutely. They were playing really good basketball. And something that the Pelicans were able to do, they were able to get Zion cleared by the NBA to still rehab at their facility because of his injured knee. So he's been at the Pelicans facility a lot in this quarantine, rehabbing that knee, because he still probably wasn't 100% playing. So he's been able to stay in good shape, training with their guys, getting his knee back ready to try and get it to 100%. So I saw this clip of, it was like Zion's first dunk back. I'll have to send it to you, Jay, when the NBA starts up again. It was a dude on a trampoline, like leaping up over the backboard, coming down and dunking it. It was pretty funny.
I used to do that shit all the time. I had a trampoline underneath my hoop.
Hell yeah.
It's parents.
All right, I want to ask you this. Have you seen some of the proposals from team executives about trying to get home court advantages? I'm putting advantages in quotations. Have you seen?
No, I haven't. What
they've
would they
tried
be
to do?
Asking for? What would they be trying? You're about to get my raw reactions because I haven't seen any.
I think there's 5. I believe I've got 5 here. Yes. Okay. So the first one is the higher seed would be awarded the first possession of the second, third, and fourth quarters following the jump ball. So you'd have the jump ball in the first quarter.
So you could potentially get all 4 possessions.
You could potentially start every quarter with possession, because if you win the jump ball, you obviously start in the first quarter, and then you get the ball to start in the fourth, and then the other team gets the ball in the second and third. So they potentially want the ball to start in every single quarter. That's what they want to try and get these home court advantage. Something the higher seed will be allowed to designate one player to have 7 fouls instead of 6 before fouling out. So can you imagine the Bucks giving Giannis 7 fouls, or LeBron to have 7, Kawhi to have 7, Joel Embiid, Jokic?
I'm with the first one. I actually like the idea of giving the home or the higher seed the ball each quarter, because you play all season to get that home court advantage, because home court advantage is a real thing when you're playing in front of all your fans and you have the crowd behind you. So by you working your tail off to get the higher seed and then to be playing on a neutral site is kind of like a shot in the chest, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to you get the ball to start all 4 quarters. I think that's somewhat of an advantage. I don't like the 7 fouls.
I don't like the 7 fouls either. Another one was that the higher seed gets an extra coach's challenge. So if you're and in every round, if you're the higher seed, you get 2 coaches challenges, or 3 instead of, or it's 2. They only get 1, so it's 2 instead of 1. The higher
I don't really
seed,
like that one either.
The higher seed would be able to transport their hardwood from the home court arenas and put them in Orlando and play on that.
Okay, I did see this, and I think that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. You grow up your entire life. You're in the NBA. You've practiced on all these floors your whole life. I don't think I've ever played one pickup game and thought, this floor just doesn't feel right. I need my home floor.
Yeah,
you know, I think
every professional gym is going to be state of the art.
Almost the same.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that one was just kind of stupid. I don't know.
That's just extra work for nothing to me.
And another one that doesn't have anything to do with on court, it was the higher seed. Or no, this one was, the higher seed gets to pick their choice of hotel before every other team does.
I mean, I don't care. If you want to throw that rule in for shits and giggles, that's fine by me.
So one team just calls the Four Seasons in Orlando and nobody else can stay at that hotel. I don't know. I mean, who cares?
Well, they can't stay at the same hotel. I did see that in a Dana White interview, the president of the UFC. He said one of the things that's different now is, before when we were able to fight in Vegas, you booked or like the hotel would comp you some rooms. Said now we have to rent out the entire hotel just because no one else, but through this coronavirus crap, no one else can stay there with us.
Yep.
So if you want to throw that in, fine. I'm neutral on that. I don't care either way. I don't really like any of the other proposals outside of, I do think that would be a fair home court advantage to just get the ball to start all 4 quarters. I think that's interesting. I think that's thought out, and I think that's pretty cool, and I wouldn't mind that.
That's really the only one that I think even makes sense because it's not trying to do too much. I mean,
agreed.
I get, because some teams don't really even try to get the jump ball, like the Rockets. I mean, if the Rockets, for example, were the higher seed in a round, they never try and get the first possession really anyways because they don't play with a center, so they usually have James Harden out there jumping, so they never really start with the ball, but then they would start with the ball for the second, third, and fourth quarter. I mean, I don't really have a problem with that.
And to me, in the NBA, without these rule changes, you're guaranteed to get 2 of the 4 possessions to start the quarter.
Yeah.
Really, you're potentially only giving them 1 more possession.
Exactly.
Maybe 2 if you can't win the jump ball.
For sure. And I mean, like you said, some of these teams, like the Bucks, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Raptors, I mean, they took the regular season seriously. For the most part, I'll argue the Clippers. I mean, they did to a certain degree because they sat out Kawhi for a lot of games. But anyways, in the Nuggets, I mean, they're one of the higher seeds. So these teams, they wanted to take the regular season seriously because,
for a reason,
because they feel if they had a Game 7 on their home court, for example, they would win. That's where they want it. They want it at their home. They want their fans cheering behind them. So I'm all for giving a higher seed a little bit of an advantage because this takes away everything. I mean, it does. I mean, it's just the nature of it
negates everything you worked for.
Exactly.
And you earned.
Yeah. So I don't know. Those were just the things that they had proposed. I'm not sure exactly what teams were all in that proposing what to the league, or I doubt any of them get accepted by the competition committee. I bet they probably just play out everything regular. Okay, so we experienced a little more technical difficulties. So if the last thing I said or the first thing I'm just saying now doesn't make any sense, just don't worry about it. Just skip right through and we'll just keep talking. So
we don't even hate on Xfinity right now. This was Nick's. We'll just throw another free plug. His Surface Pro fucked up.
Yes, Jay's throwing Microsoft out here. He's throwing everything.
Fuck them all
right now. Jay's trying to come out here
My
with
Surface Pro actually is working awesome, so I don't want to take that away from anything Microsoft did.
I love the Surface Pro.
I do too.
It's really awesome. I actually think it's a lot easier to control than like a Mac laptop or computer. Anyways, all right, way off subject. So the one thing Jay and I were just talking about right before we started back up was that they're keeping these seedings. They're keeping an East-West format. They're keeping everybody where they were, 1 through 8. And then, like I said, they're playing those 8 other games for seeding purposes, mainly for teams like Miami, Indy, Philadelphia. They're all within 2 games of each other, so they can really seed themselves 4, 5, and 6. Because I think if you're at 4, 5, you're playing Milwaukee, most likely in the second round. If you're at 6, you can avoid Milwaukee until the conference finals if you think you've got a shot better at that, like where Philly's sitting right now. Philly's had a lot of time off. Ben Simmons is able to get healthy. His back, he probably wasn't going to be available until the playoffs anyways, so now it's the end of July. He's probably going to be back fully healthy. Joel Embiid has time to get off as long as he stayed in shape. So Philly could be a scary team. I don't know. I didn't like how they gelled anyways, but this time off may have benefited them tremendously. And same with the Pacers with Victor Oladipo still coming back. He wasn't 100%. He was trying to work himself in, so that helps them. But, I mean, who do you like out of the East? Is it just Milwaukee and no one else for you, Jay?
Telling you, man, I still like Boston.
You're still okay. So
yes, I do.
Even though Boston, if Philly stays where they are, I mean, Philly and Boston in the first round.
I would take Boston.
I probably would too, but that's tough. That's hard.
I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk by any means.
That's not a good matchup for the Celtics in round 1 with all the bigs that Philly has and the lack of size that
what
Boston
have the Philly bigs done all season?
I mean, you saw Joel Embiid last year. Come playoff time, it looked like he took it a little more seriously. I mean, they were a shot away from going to the conference finals. Philly was.
I'll still ride with Boston.
And I like Boston. I like what Boston's done this year. I like the emergence Jason Tatum. And you know, I'm a huge Jaylen Brown fan. I like Boston. So you think Boston's coming out of the East?
No. I think coming out of the East. I would not be shocked if the Celtics did. I think Toronto's a pretender. I think they're a good story. I like their players. I think they always play hard. I like their coach. I just don't think they have the talent when it comes to the playoffs to get them through and into the championship. So really, I think it comes down to Boston and the Bucks coming out of the East. But my money's with the Bucks. I think they're clearly the best team.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's who I would favor to get to the conference finals is Milwaukee and Boston. Kind of set up with the Kyrie-less Celtics, set up a rematch last year where Milwaukee, after losing game 1 to the Celtics, kind of just mopped the floor with them in the next 4 games. We actually had a wager.
I just think there's a blueprint
to
beat. Yeah, I know. I just think there's a blueprint to beat Giannis and the Bucks, and
there is.
Toronto with Kawhi last year really exposed it. And that's why I said I would not be surprised if Boston came out if they met them in the championship, just threw everybody at Giannis and said, everyone else, you got to beat me. Yes, I know teams have probably tried to do that during the regular season, but playoff basketball is different.
It is.
People play a little bit harder. They're a little more physical. They have bodies to throw at Giannis to stop him. And the Bucks lost a key component in Brogdon for their playoff success this year. So it'll be interesting. Again, my money's still on the Bucks to come out of the East, but you could call it hedging my bet, whatever. I would not be shocked if Boston came out.
I would, but I'm with you. I think it's Boston and Milwaukee are the 2 best teams. I think that's probably what you're going to see come conference finals. If for Milwaukee, it really comes down to if Eric Bledsoe is going to have a good series against the Celtics, because the past 2 years against Boston, Eric Bledsoe has just taken a shit on the court and just been bad. I mean, they had to rely on George Hill, who was better than Eric Bledsoe in that series, to advance to go play Toronto. Same with 2 years before that. I mean, George Hill was better. Boston advanced 2 years ago against them. But, I mean, Eric Bledsoe, they paid him a lot of money. He's got to produce come playoff time. And Brook Lopez has got to knock down shots because, like you said, they're just going to take out they may even let Giannis kind of do his thing and make everybody else beat you, because that's what a lot. I just bring up LeBron again, but that's a lot what Stan Van Gundy used to do when it was LeBron in the Cavs. They would just let LeBron. I won't say let him score because they're just so great that they're going to get theirs, but they really just kind of took away the other guys and just were like, we'll let LeBron go score 40. But if the other guys can't do shit, then they're not going to win, because
it's a pretty nice concept. I mean, yeah, we'll let your star go off for 40, but we're going to hold the rest of your guys to 40 as well. So exactly. All we got to do is get 85.
Yes. So there you go. That's kind of the blueprint that I think Milwaukee do. I still think they're the better team, and I think they'll advance to the finals out of the East. But I don't think they're just going to like sweep through the East I think a lot of people will just imagine the Bucks going like 12-0 through the playoffs in the East, and I just don't think that before they get to the finals. I think it'll be shit. I mean, even in the second round against whether it's Miami, Indiana, or Philadelphia, I think they won't sweep them. Maybe 5 or 6 games, but it won't just be like a cakewalk. I don't think that.
I agree. I don't think the Bucks, maybe outside of the first round, sweep anybody.
Agreed. I will agree with that too. All right, let's
move. Now the West is a little different.
Some West teams. The team that this sucks a lot for is Utah, man, because I mean, this was
who they draw.
It's just not who they drew.
If it stayed where they were.
It's just, so they're at 4 right now. So their first round would be against OKC. OKC's only a game behind them, so they could flip flop. They're only a game and a half behind Denver for the 3 seed, and shit. I think Houston's only a game out of that spot too. So 3 through 7 is very close. I think you're probably going to get the Clippers and the Lakers are the 1 and 2 seeds in the West, but there's some jockeying for position 3 through 7. And then obviously the race for the 8 seed to try and get in and just get in the playoffs and hopefully you can do your thing. But the reason I bring up Utah is, first of all, the whole thing started when Rudy Gobert tested positive. That night, The NBA just got shut down. And then I think it was the next day, Donovan Mitchell tested positive for it. And a few weeks ago, Bojan Bogdanovic had surgery on his wrist, and he's done for the year. He's not going to be there for the Jazz. So how the fuck are the Jazz going to look when they come back, man? 2 of their players are beefing. Their 2 best players, and Mitchell and Gobert, have beef because of this whole thing. Bogdanovic is arguably the 3rd best player, and he's not there anymore. This really is hurtful for the Jazz, man. And after all the hype they had this offseason of signing Conley, getting Bogdanovic,
sad to say, I don't think they have a chance.
I don't either, and it just sucks for them. I think they're a good team, but I think they're going to have issues coming back with those 2 guys, and just being without Bogdanovic in the West, it's just going to hurt them, and they'll probably be bounced round 1 no matter who they get.
I was about to say the same thing. I would probably call them a one and done. I don't know if anybody took more of a hit this offseason or this.
Yeah.
I call it the offseason shit.
What it seems like.
Yeah, this extended break. I don't think anybody took worse of a hit than the Jazz.
Yeah, it's tough for them because, like I said, they're only 3.5 games up on Dallas. And, I mean, they could go from the 4 seed to the 7 seed like that when the season comes back. Because what if they go, 3-5 in the 8 games that they have to play? And they're just bottom feeders now in the West because everything's just really, really, honestly, just terrible things have happened to the Jazz right now. And I kind of feel bad for them. But, I mean.
So we both marked them off.
Yeah.
How many teams do you think could potentially come out of the West? Is it just 2?
I think it's, if the Rockets get hot and Westbrook was playing like he was before this break, and Harden just has a series where he just goes off and he's not the normal Harden where he just lets you down in the playoffs, that would be the 3rd team that I would say has a shot, because I don't think Denver has a shot. OKC's nice story. They don't have enough guns to get past the Clippers or the Lakers. Dallas is too young. Luka's never been in the playoffs before. And whoever gets that 8 seed, I don't even care if it's Portland and they've got somewhat of experience. I don't think they have a shot either. So I legitimately think it's 2 with the chance of a third, a slim chance at that, though.
Okay, I'll give you that, but I really just think it's 2 teams. I think
it's
both
the
LA
teams.
Yep.
I think they're the 2 best teams.
We picked the Lakers from the jump. We were on the bandwagon. It was a very small bandwagon.
It was.
Of their head coach hiring. We were on the bandwagon of the Lakers being better than the Clippers even without Kawhi. We have been on this Lakers train, and I'm telling you, it's not even because we do like LeBron a lot. I just think they're built better. They have stayed healthier the entire season. They've played together. They've gotten better, like basically every single week that they've played together. Their camaraderie's gotten together. I think they're a tight team. I think the Clippers have some loose ends in their locker room. I think there's a little bit of divide. I think people look at Kawhi, and when the team wasn't playing so hot and he was still sitting out, I think a couple of those players looked at him sideways. I just don't think that group is as tight as the Lakers. I think the Lakers have the edge in all-around depth. I actually like the Lakers' depth more than I like the Clippers' depth.
I do too. I think the Clippers' depth is so overblown. It's so overrated. I mean, yeah, they've got some good players, but I think all these guys have just made out to seem like they're the best bench players in the history of the world. Like when they got Marcus Morris, it was like they traded for a prime Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
Or it was like they were acquiring Kevin Durant. I mean, it's Marcus Morris. I mean, he was averaging 19 points on the Knicks, but he was shooting 30 times a game. I mean, You saw what LeBron did to him when they matched up. LeBron has never had a problem with Marcus Morris. LeBron, if contrary to what people believe, because Kawhi won MVP in 2014 in the finals because he held LeBron to 28, 8, and 4 on 56% shooting. Come on now. I mean,
I'm with you. You have no argument for me.
They have no
I'm
answer
still on the Lakers
for Anthony
bandwagon.
Davis. It's just exactly. You and I have been on this for a while, and I sent you those. I just re-looked up those pictures I sent you a few weeks ago. Remember how when at the beginning of the season you mentioned there was a small bandwagon on the Lakers, didn't believe in them, didn't think they were title contenders. They were, according to ESPN, they weren't even in the top 5 percentage-wise to win the title.
So there was 5.
ESPN also had them finishing 5th in the Western Conference regular season record-wise. Had them finishing 5th and were outside of the top 5 of all NBA teams to win the title.
Yeah, I'm still on that train.
We were both fans of the Frank Vogel hire. I think we were light years ahead of that one because nobody believed in it.
No, because I think we got to see firsthand what he did in Indy with the talent that he had, and the type of his coaching style and the gameplay and the scheme he liked to run fit exactly what the Lakers roster was built for.
Yes,
I just thought it was a match made in heaven, and on top of that, people went in with low expectations of him rather than a splash hire where people would have had put him on a pedestal. And I think that had benefits for it. And me and you we really liked the hire. And It made a lot of sense at the time. I don't know how it didn't make sense to a lot of people when they were bashing it, but we saw it from the beginning, and clearly it's working out for him.
Agreed. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, you talked about their camaraderie. I think they're one of the most tightly knit groups in the league. And you hear all the time about how after a team wins a championship, they talk about how close we were, how we just believed in each other and things like that. And I do think they're, like you mentioned, we've kind of said it for a while. I think there is guys that look sideways at Kawhi. I mean, Montrezl Harrell came out and talked about how basically he said, not everybody takes this as seriously as they should. We aren't the same team as last year because everybody thinks we're the title contenders, so we just think it's going to be given to us. So, and I mean, you get Anthony Davis, 7 straight games, have to beat you. I don't care.
Who do they have to stop at Anthony Davis?
If you have LeBron and AD, I don't think there's any team right now. There's the 4 horsemen from the Golden State Warriors aren't walking through the door.
And I don't think people are talking about this enough. I think AD is Giannis's nightmare in the post. He's just as long. He's just as athletic. He's tall. He can block his shots. He can defend him at the rim. He's a great defender. He puts himself in perfect position. He's a down low defender. If AD had to pop out, I believe AD could guard him out on the perimeter and do some damage out there. So you want to talk about stoppers? I think AD could be the X factor in that series. What would you, if it becomes LA versus the Lakers versus the Bucks in the finals? how many games do you think it takes the Lakers to win? I'm assuming you would pick LA because I would.
Because that's who I think it is. I think it's going to be Lakers-Bucks in the finals, and I'd say Lakers in 6.
I don't think it would make it to Game 7.
I don't either. I say 6. And I say that because I think Giannis is just awesome and really good. But, I mean, you talk about it again, it's just so different when you're matching up against the same team every single night, and you get a day off, you come back, you get rested. Avery Bradley is going to make some point guards a living hell in the playoffs. I mean, you've seen this guy. He tortured Patrick Beverley the last time the Lakers and the Clippers played. I think Patrick Beverley was like 1 for 7 with like 4 turnovers. It was like one of the first possessions of the game. Avery Bradley just picked his pocket and went and laid it up, and then got in Patrick Beverley's face and got called for a tech. So
I think people have overlooked so many of the Lakers signings.
Yes,
and
they have.
The depth that we were talking about earlier. I think Alex Caruso is a very good player that doesn't get talked about enough.
No, he doesn't. He's just a flat-out good basketball player. I mean, he's not like elite at anything, but he's that guy who he'll box out anybody. I mean, you've seen clips of when they played the Bucks. I mean, he was boxing out Giannis on the defensive end. So, I mean, he'll go compete just with anybody. He will.
And I know you don't like it, but I still like Rondo in the playoffs. I like him being on the Lakers. I like his IQ. I like his vision. I still like his passing. I don't like some of the shots he takes, but I do believe that LeBron will have some sort of talk with them and say, look, when it comes playoff time, do your thing, but let's not get crazy. Let's go out here, play our game, stay in your lane, play your role, and we'll win this thing.
Because I think get crazy.
I think Rondo brings some skills to the table that a lot of point guards don't have. He's won championships. He knows what it takes. You saw, was it last year? Was it last year or 2 years ago when he was on the Pelicans playing?
It was 2 years ago.
And he showed out.
It may have even been 3 years ago. I know what you're talking about. When him and Anthony Davis had a good run in the playoffs, and they swept Portland. Yeah, when they were really dominant. And I even told you after the Lakers had played those 2 games against the Bucks and the Clippers, we did a podcast and we talked about it. And I said Rondo looked like he actually knew what he was doing for the first time all season in those 2 games. He didn't look like he was a deer in headlights and he was trying to just hunt for the assist. He's never going to be prime Rondo again, but he wasn't trying to do too much. And that was my problem.
And that's what they need him to do.
Yeah, and he was doing
just enough.
So maybe if that was the glimpse you're going to get of Rondo, that's perfect, because that's when you give LeBron a breather. You let Rondo run the offense.
Let's end it on this. What do you think of this talk? I've heard people say if LeBron wins this championship, they're always going to put an asterisk next to his name.
I don't think you can put an asterisk on this championship, because every single team has gone through not in history, but this season, he would be the only person you would say is an asterisk on this.
I agree.
On this championship. That's it.
No, if Boston won this, no one would ever talk about this. The year of the down year where they had the corona and they had the time off. It would just be Boston got another championship. If Boston won it,
I mean, okay. Everyone says Tim Duncan has 5 championships. No one ever brings up the fact that the '99 season when he won his first title, they only played 50 games. No one ever brings that up. They just say Tim Duncan has 5 titles. That's it.
Do you think people would put an asterisk, though, on his title?
LeBron haters will. Absolutely. There'll be an asterisk because there's just people that love to hate this guy.
I agree. And because he'd be one step closer to Michael Jordan, and that just cannot happen.
Exactly. And because if the Clippers do it, you'll hear, Kawhi, 2 straight titles, back-to-back finals MVPs on 2 different teams.
Won a title with 3 teams.
He's won a title with 3 teams, been the MVP 3 different times.
Brought the Clippers their long-awaited championship.
Yeah. The same with Milwaukee. Giannis, look what he was able to do with the Bucks. He took a franchise that hadn't been there since, I think, 1971, and he won the Finals MVP after this long layoff. There's just double standards for LeBron. Everybody knows that. Unless you're just blinded by hatred of this guy.
I'm with you. I wanted to ask you about that because I'd heard of it, and I was like,
I think it can even be. I think it could be something. Whoever wins this title, it's going to mean a little bit more because what they had to go through. That's just my view on it. Even if it isn't LeBron, I think they're going to win. But if it's Giannis and they win, more props to him because they had to take this time off in the middle of a season and try and come back and do this. That's a hard thing to do.
I just thought of it. If Giannis won the title, you're more likely you should put an asterisk next to it for him over LeBron because if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Giannis hurt?
Yeah,
before this whole shit happened?
Helped him.
And this may have helped them. And I would not, even if the Bucks win, I would not put an asterisk next to them. I think they had to fight through some shit, but I'm saying there's more like you would be more likely to put one next to him for getting this time off and be able to get healthy come playoff
because it's
time.
an advantage for him.
Yeah.
I think the only way there would have been like an asterisk on this championship if they just tried to do something where it was way too of a gimmick. Like they were just the NBA was trying to do too much. Like they were talking about the World Cup pool plays, which I hated. I thought that was extremely stupid. The single elimination playoff games that were something that was out there. I mean, that was just that. Those would have been dumb, and then that would have felt not real. But this actually feels like it's real. Like we're gonna get a legit champion.
Yep. So me and you are both on the Laker train. They're gonna win the whole thing.
As
long as everybody stays healthy.
I'm not changing it, man.
Yep. I've been given no reason to think it otherwise.
No. I mean, I think he's hungry.
All right, go mark it down. We both spoke. Lakers taking the title.
Lakers 2020 champs.
There it is. LeBron for MVP.
All right. As always, subscribe to the Unwanted Opinions podcast if you have not. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, iHeartRadio app, literally anywhere. You can check us out on YouTube. All of our content is there as well. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Unwanted Opinions with Nick and Jay. You got questions, email us, unwantedopinionspodcast@gmail.com. DMs are wide open. Questions, comments, whatever. We like interacting with everybody. That's all I got, Jay.
Till next time.
Till next time.